Budget videos. Oh man. So budget videos are super popular, and I made a video talking about a budget that I formulated my travel plans off of 3 years ago, the $3,000 global nomad budget, slow travel, and I didn't get into a lot of specifics because I don't believe in being super specific about numbers and stuff, because what do you really need in a budget video? I was just trying to present you a framework that I used to assess whether or not I could afford to travel. Whether or not you can afford to travel or live somewhere, that's entirely up to you. And I made this recent video calling out Jogo, I don't know, Wonder in the Philippines, because I thought he was being very dishonest and misleading in his budget video. So I got some pushback, and I want to kind of clean that up a little bit and make sure I'm presenting my opinions in the most effective way I can so they're understood. But at the end of the line, whatever. Budget videos, I think there's a lot of draw to them. I don't think there's a lot of accuracy for most of them, and I don't think there's a lot of value to them as a traveler. I look at different markers in to decide whether or not I can afford to travel someplace. And I'm not going to get into all that because it's a complex thought process that I use for me based on my opinions and my whatever. And I don't think a lot of people would really think it was smart what I do. And I don't think a lot of people would really be able to use it without a lot of experience. And if you have a lot of experience, then I'd be telling you that, hey, rain is wet. I don't know if you know this, but when it rains, it's wet, right? So if you have the experience, you don't really need the information I can offer you. What can I offer you as somebody sitting in your house thinking about traveling and worried about budgets and expenses? Let me run through this, and I'm going to break apart the Jogo video again, and then talk about some other travel budget people that I think are valuable, and then I'm going to just talk a little bit about my thought process in making budgets for traveling or going nomad. I will tell you right off the top, I never said $1,000 isn't doable in the Philippines. I don't, I believe you can go live on $1,000 in the Philippines just fine. I'm not sure it would be the best choice unless you had like some crazy desire to go to the Philippines. If you were locked in on trying to live on $1,000, I think there's other options that are better, and I think there's other answers that are better. And it had, part of the question is that all you have, or are you trying to save money, or trying to have an economic holiday to squirrel some cash away? And those are different, right? Because if you're destitute and down to, living off of $1,000 income and that's all you've got pretty much, there's better places. If you're an American specifically, there's better options for you, I think. Your quality of life could be higher. Now, if you just want to live in the Philippines on a lower quality of life, that's fine. That's great. I'm not here to say right or wrong. I'm just sharing my experience and my opinions. So Jogo's video, I thought it was dishonest in the fact that he's putting out all these videos and they're blowing up. He's getting, 10,000 times the amount of views I am, or 1,000 times the amount of views I am. And he's showing people, I live like this, I live like this, I live like this. Oh, I live on $1,000 a month and you can too. And, hold on a second. He's living, showing you, and it's like the used car salesman, after Jay Leno going, you too, or after Johnny Carson, you too can drive a Ferrari for $50 a month. You too can drive a Mercedes for $100 a month, right? It's just this used car salesman bullshit. And, I don't know if he was intentionally trying to do that or just trying to get the likes and subscribes, the clicks, the views from saying $1,000, but it is kind of weird how his budget just barely comes in like right under that $1,000 cap, right? And then in his video, he discloses like, look, I didn't drink. He just kind of slid it in there like, subtly. So I think a lot of people missed it because they're too busy watching like, whatever, right? Listening to his genuine affect. But, he said, I didn't drink alcohol. I didn't take a bus. I didn't take a ferry. I didn't go anywhere. He didn't tell you I sat in my, room, turned on the aircon, and, threw cards at the wall, playing cards at the wall all month, or I played video games all month, or I watched YouTube all month. Didn't tell you what he did all month, right? But he said he lived on $1,000 that one month. He gave you a snapshot, and to me that was totally dishonest, and that has a collateral effect on everybody. It devalues everybody else's sharing their experience, because here's this rising superstar, this the next Joe Rogan, right? Telling you something that's utterly false. And when you realize it's false and you watch other people's videos, you're now going to associate them with Gojo, and it's just, it's bad. So the other thing about his video is, in the video before, he told you, I'm spending over $1,000 on all these activities I want to do, but that's not part of my budget. How is that not part of your budget, right? Total life budget. So budget videos that I would recommend seeking out and looking at. I know Andrea in Albania. New Life in Albania is her channel, and she did budget videos that I thought were great, because not only does she show you what she's buying at the store and some of her other videos, she's showing you where she's living, she's showing you the neighborhood, she's showing you everything, and you get a genuine cost of living month over month. It's consistent. Now the budget videos I'm really impressed by recently is this new channel. It's not a new channel, but they have a very small channel, and I'm kind of surprised it's so small, is Retired to Rome. Retired, the number 2, ROAM, Rome. And they do these budget videos. They pretty much do them every month, and you have to kind of hunt through their channel to find them. But their budget videos are great, because they're saying, here's our year-long goal, here's how we did this month, and this is what we spent. They break it down, and it's really great, because you're getting to see them travel, you're getting to see where they're going, and you're getting to see their budget. And that is a budget that I think you could take and process and go, okay, can I apply this to my life? Can I live the way they're living? Can I eat what they're eating? Can I go where they're going? And you're also getting a taste of their daily activities. And so it's a more complete package, and they're showing you the sustainability of it over time, the good, the bad, and the reality of it over time. So it's a more sustainable budget video that I think is great. Now, as far as, can you afford to travel? Can you afford to live abroad? Can you afford to be a nomad? The first question is, do you have income? All these basics, right? The Ugly Tourist made a video, and I was laughing, because he started off his video was like, get a passport, right? And before you come to the Philippines, start with a passport. And so if you're looking at traveling abroad, the first thing is, how much money do you have to spend, right? And everything else is downhill from there. I believe the first step in assessing a place is, what do you actually want to do every day, all day, every day, and what kind of quality of life are you seeking? What kind of needs do you have personally, medical, or attention-wise, or social, or nature, or health concerns? There's all these other issues, right? So the easy way I found to assess budget videos is to ignore most of them. They're entertaining, they're fun. You might pick up a little tip or trick here, but they're not really solutions to me. They're not really core answers. They're tips and tricks, right? What I look for is affordability, is the cost of living indexed. I look at housing. How much does it cost me housing wise? Am I going to do an Airbnb stay? Because it's one thing if I'm traveling on Airbnb under the 1 month mark, or the 1 month or over. Because if you stay Airbnbs 1 month or over, you get a significant break. And that's pretty true everywhere. If I go to Albania, I was just in Albania, so I'm going to use that as an example a lot. But if I go to Albania and I'm looking for a 1 month rental, and whether I'm online or offline, the 1 month rental is going to be significantly more than a 12-month rental. So I had somebody offer me an apartment 2 years ago. They offered me an apartment unfurnished. I'd have to pay power and all that myself, but it was $3,000 for the entire year, €3,000 for 1 year for the entire apartment. Now, if I were an entrepreneurial person, I wanted to live there, I could probably rent that out for over $3,000 for 1 month of the year. Now there's only about 2 to 4 months of the year where you could rent it because of the seasonality, right? Probably 4 months you could rent it, 80%. 2 months you could rent it 100%, no problem, no issues, right? But they wanted us to lock in a 1 year rental. Now, if I were to go there and rent it for 1 month, it would probably cost me $1,000 to rent it for 1 month. So you see the difference there. And that's pretty normal everywhere I've been. If you want a short-term rental, it's going to cost you a lot more. It's all pretty common sense, right? So what I do is I look at, when I'm assessing an area from far off, I don't listen to these YouTube budgets too much, right? I'll listen to things about, I'll either do my own research or I'll find somebody I trust and evaluate what they say about visas or groceries or this or that. But if I'm looking at going someplace, I'll use Airbnb or VRBO or even any hotel sites and kind of use those as a gauge. Can I afford to live there? Because here's the question you have to ask yourself too, and this actually happened to me in Japan. I had a bunch of Airbnbs booked and then it all fell apart, and now I'm standing on the street corner with my bags going, where do I sleep tonight? Now what do? Can you afford to go get a hotel? Can you afford this? Can you afford to jump a plane? What are you going to do if your bookings fall through? And so if you find the magical booking and it falls through, are you stuck? If you go to the Philippines and you sign a lease and you're in this agreement and all of a sudden it falls through, are you going to be able to find something to replicate that? So, listening to these budget videos, it's entertaining. I will say that. It's entertaining. And it's fun to get the tips and tricks like, okay, I see that. But the other thing that most of these budget videos ignore, and this is prime, front and center in my mind, what happens if the dollar drops? The dollar's been doing very well for the last few years, but what happens if the dollar doesn't do well? What happens if the dollar suddenly crashes? And so when you're looking at these, you have to be looking at exchange rates, right? And I mentioned this a few videos back, or I don't know, a month ago, 2 months ago. When I went to Albania, I was getting, I was using 30,000 lek as an example. That's about $300. I think it's 30,000. I always screw up the zeros there. So I may have screwed up my zeros there, but I'm going to go with 30,000 because I think that's right. I'm dealing with too many currencies in my head translating. Now I'm curious. I'm going to Google it to make sure I get the numbers right. So give me 1 second. Luckily, this hotel has decent internet. 3,000 ALL to USD. Go. Okay, yeah. So it's 30,000 lek. It's 1,000 lek to 10,000 lek to about $100 is the ballpark, right? But I was getting 30,000 lek for about $280 out of my account. So 30,000 lek, $280 when I first got to Albania. Now, even when I pull up 30,000 lek right now, it says 360, but the actual drop out of my account a few months ago was 370 or 300, actually it was about $379, $380 out of my account. So just think about that. $300, basically 300 Albanian dollars was costing me 270 US dollars. Now all of a sudden it's costing me 370 US dollars. So and that's just in 3.5 years, 3 years, to see that much swing in the currency exchange. And a lot of these budget videos, they don't really talk about those currency exchanges, right? They don't really talk about how that affects you. So when you're looking at budget videos, I try to find numbers in the local currency, and then I go back and I look at the currency over the last 5 or 10 years. Is it trending up, trending down? Are there any sharp spikes? Are there any like just random peaks and valleys and dips? And and you have to assess all that. And so a lot of these budget videos, they just gloss over the top. Look at me, $1,000 a month. Look at me. Let's forget the fact that I just spent $1,000 on my personal activities. Let's forget the fact that I quit drinking. Let's forget that, I cut my budget to come in just under $1,000 for that month, right? Let's forget all that. So that's why, I'm just real careful and cautious about these budget videos. And I encourage you, if you're thinking about going abroad, the first place to start is actually on your budget now. And look at your budget now. Start tracking it meticulously. Start breaking it down, and start looking at where you're, losing money and spending money, and where, was that really money well spent? And when I started doing that, that's when it really became apparent that I could afford to go abroad. When I started looking at all the money I was wasting in America on BS stuff, and the first one that really hit me in the face was how much money I would waste at the grocery store. I'd go to the grocery store, I'd buy all these things, they all look great, right? I'd take them home, and then 2 weeks later, I'm throwing out half the strawberries, or I'm throwing out this, or I'm throwing out that. And I realized, I started converting, when I really started obsessing about my budget, I started converting everything into dollars and cents. So if I didn't eat those 2 tortillas, how much did those tortillas cost? It was like 20 cents for, the Mission Valley, like the fancy tortillas, and I'm throwing them away because they got moldy. I just threw away, 20 cents, 30 cents, whatever it was, right? And do the math, the leftovers, right? I cooked too much food, I put it in the fridge, I never ate it, it spoiled. Now I'm throwing away, I'm taking money out of my pocket and I'm throwing it away. And when I got obsessive about my budget at home and traveling, I started realizing that I could actually afford to travel if I got super careful and deliberate. I think super deliberate about my budget is a better word. And I stopped buying the drive-through coffee. I stopped doing this, I stopped doing that. And I started discovering all the little leaks in my budget. And when I started closing up all those little gaps in my budget, all of a sudden I had all this money. And I started to travel. And once I started to travel, I'm like, you know what? I don't like spending, I don't like spending $600 or $800 just to get out of America, to only get 2 or 3 weeks, on location. Why would I keep spending? When I start adding up, if I'm doing 3 trips out of America a year, and I'm spending at the time it was only $600-800. Now it's like $1,000 to get out of America and hit Asia. And so if you're spending $1,000, 2 or 3 times a year just to get to Asia, and you're only spending 2 to 4 weeks, on location when you're there, why am I spending $3,000? No, I just need to go, right? Just need to go. And that's what got me to start thinking about living abroad, was just getting up and going out. But it all started with my budget back home, right? It all started with a dream and my budget back home and a desire to get out and travel. And once I cinched up all those leakies in my budget, now I look at budget videos, and like I said, they're entertaining, but to me, they're not super useful. If I go back 10 years, what would be useful to me is how to sync up my budget at home and how to really, focus on spending money on what matters and what doesn't matter. And understanding that, by buying that drive-through coffee, yeah, sure, it makes me happy. Some sugar, some, chemicals and sugar, but what am I giving up? And when I discovered in my head in practical terms, that drive-through coffee was keeping me from having that coconut on the beach in the Philippines full of rum when I was still drinking a lot. What do I want more? Do I want a drive-through coffee, or do I want to be on the beach or a boat in the Philippines drinking rum out of a coconut, sitting in the water? I would much rather be in the South Pacific, floating around drinking rum out of a coconut than I would sitting in my room drinking a Starbucks, sitting in front of a TV watching YouTube or watching Amazon or watching Netflix, eating a Hot Pocket, drinking a Starbucks. Like, really. And so the budget videos are great for entertainment. But to me, the real budget video or budget attention, the real issue with budgets is not, can you afford to live there? I think if you can live in America, if you have a sustainable income or a constant stream of income, you can live pretty much anywhere in the world if you focus on it. If it's all a matter of yin or yang. It's all a binary decision, or it's not all a binary decision. It's all what do you want in life? What quality of life do you want? What do you want to be doing? Do you want to be sitting on the beach drinking rum out of the coconut every day? Truth be told, no, that's not what I want. Do I want to do it once in a while? Hell yeah. Do I want to do it every day? No, it gets boring after about a week, 2 weeks. You hit 3 weeks on the beach, and I'm sorry, this is my experience. You hit 3 weeks on the beach, I am bored. Even though I love swimming and fish, playing with the fishies. There was a floating bar in Porto Galera. I could spend hours out there because I'd go for swim up onto the dock, the bar, get a couple beers in me. I'd go sit out in the water and I'd play with this clownfish, as he's swimming in and out of the anemone. Hang out, just watch him, chill, watch the school of fish swim by. I love being face down in the water, like, with a snorkel. It's like swimming in an aquarium, right? It just makes me happy. And down there, there's so many fish and snakes and other things. It is like being in an aquarium. And it's just great, right? It's just relaxing. Go stare at an aquarium in a dentist's office. They're all there for a reason, right? But these are real life aquariums, and they're all over the world, and you can go access them if you want. But watching budget videos by some chuckleheads, trying to mislead you, trying to sell you a dream that isn't reality, isn't going to get you any closer. What'll get you closer is looking in a mirror and saying, I really want this, or I'm just passing the time and, I'm just going to go back to, heat up another Hot Pocket in my microwave and, go to Starbucks. And nowadays people don't even order, go to Starbucks. They just have it delivered. I mean, how sad is that? Like, literally. You're just taking money out of your pocket saying, you know what, I don't want to do anything but sit here and drink my coffee, eat my Hot Pocket, and wait to die. Well, this guy got tired of waiting to die, and now I'm out living. And, people ask me about my channel name all the time. They're like, oh, that's a great channel name. No, that channel name is a reminder of the stupid decisions I was making, of the horrible decisions I was making. And now I'm out living. I'm, thankfully, somebody got through to me and I'm out living life, right? I could still be sitting in a chair waiting to die. And that's not a good place. And if you want to do that, I would encourage you to seek a better life, and it's out there. It's just a little bit of hard work. But these budget videos, they drive me crazy. And I'm sorry for spinning on this tangent and getting emotional, but these budget videos drive me crazy because to me it's counterproductive to say, you can live on $1,000 a month. You can. You can in California, you can in Florida, you can in the Philippines, you can in Albania, you can in Portugal. You can live on $1,000 pretty much anywhere. But do you want to? Is that the life you want? If you have a steady income and you're somewhat able and you're somewhat, mobile, you can pretty much go anywhere in the world. It's just a matter of setting up that plan. But if you're watching these budget videos and I'm confusing you, Start with your house. Look at all the things you have. And then start writing down every single penny you spend. And when I started writing down every single penny I spent, I realized, wait a second, I don't need 30 shirts. I don't need 10 pairs of shoes. I don't need this. I don't need that. I don't. And you start looking at, what do I actually need to be happy? What actually makes me happy? There's a lot of things that make me happy. There's a lot of things that make you happy. But that's a personal decision, right? And maybe you want the, 30 cats, and you want the cluttered house, and you want to sit on your chair and eat your Hot Pocket and order Starbucks to be delivered. I look at that as like, that Starbucks delivery, Starbucks like $6-8, say 15 to have it delivered. I look at that $15, that's half of my hotel room here in Dubai. So 2 Starbucks or spend the night in Dubai. Just saying. For the record, the room I'm in right now is 34 USD a night. There's a pool outside my window. I had free breakfast, and I'm gonna stay here a few more days because it's nice. How much was your Taco Bell? How much was your Starbucks bill last month, right? So when I started doing my budget, I started looking at, do I need a microwave? No, microwaves are bad. Get rid of them. Throw them out. Do I need this? Do I need that? And I started realizing, only buy exactly what I'm going to eat. Because guess what? If I have all those snacks around, I'll eat some, I'll waste some. The ones I eat, I don't really need or want. I'm just eating because I'm bored. I waste some, and that is taking money out of my pocket and throwing it away. That's not a good, useful thing, right? Not a good, useful thing at all. Taking that money out of the trash can, putting it back in my pocket, and saving it to buy a plane ticket was a good thing. Because once I bought enough of those plane tickets, I realized, why the hell am I buying all these plane tickets that cost me so much money? Because the rent there and the rent here, the rent there is high, the rent here is cheap. The food there is high, food here is high. I'm talking about the Philippines, right? My initial plan was to move to the Philippines, but I didn't. And this video has turned into a rant, and I don't even know if I'll post it. But if I do, and you have questions, comments, whatever, leave them below. But yeah, these budget videos and these, used car salesmen, pretending to be your friend online, just drive me crazy. Just drive me crazy. I will circle back one last time. New Life in Albania, great budget videos, great, honest purveyor or communicator of reality. And then Retired to Rome, and there's a ton of them out there. These are just 2 on my hot sheet right now that I check, every few days, see if they have a new video, because the videos they put out are honest, genuine, and about reality. They're not, selling me anything that's fake or false or, made up. They're not, going above and beyond to chase the likes and subscribes with fake BS. So, hope you have a great day. Thank you.